Welcome back, folks. I'm Frizz, and today I'd like to make a case for why you should consider playing Paizo's official adventure paths. And if you already play APs, then I'd like to talk about why they're so good. APs are genuinely great and one of the best parts of Pathfinder that stands out the most whenever you compare it to other TTRPGs. Let's get into it. Alright, so what exactly is an AP anyway? We should probably make sure that everyone is on the same footing before we get into why you should actually play these. An AP is a pre-written campaign for Pathfinder, with almost all of the plot hooks, NPCs, encounters, and maps provided for the GM. Essentially, you've got the plot roadmap for the entire campaign, with a couple of set events, and then it's up for the GM and the players to connect the dots with the plot. Generally, APs are pretty long, and in Pathfinder 2e, a lot of them start at level 1 and go all the way to level 20. They span a broad variety of fantasy genres, and I'm certain that there's one out there for you and your group. Now, first we should address what I think is one of the more common worries about APs, which is that they feel impersonal. Just due to their structure, their stories are general and designed to fit any Pathfinder party that happens to be playing them. They aren't stories written with your specific characters in mind, so surely everything that goes by the book isn't going to feel very personal, right? Well, ask yourself this. When was the last time that a TTRPG game actually went by the book? The answer is literally never, obviously. Also, APs are designed to be general plot lines that your GM can change however the hell they want. Do they want to cut out a bit entirely? Change a bunch of encounters? Change the name of a bunch of NPCs to tie in with all of the party's different backstories? APs are literally designed to do that. Yeah, APs might be a bit impersonal by the book, but it's totally reasonable to mix and match the story to exactly what your group needs. After all, what is a good TTRPG campaign that isn't partially made up on the fly and stitched together out of various different media types? Now, the other great part about APs is actually pretty simple. Your GM is most likely not a professional writer, and most likely isn't getting paid to write interesting stories. AP writers actually are, and that means that your game is more likely to have at least a slightly professional take to it. Obviously, it still comes down to delivery, but having an incredibly loose script is better than having no script for a lot of GMs who aren't just writers themselves or incredible at improv. This is especially true if you're new to GMing and have no idea what the hell you're doing. Actually, let's talk a little bit more about how much easier it is to GM for an AP when compared to homebrewing. Probably one of the more overwhelming parts about GMing, for me personally at least, is bookkeeping and just keeping the logistics of the game running. Figuring out what loot to give to the party, how much gold they should have at any given point, and what encounters they should be fighting can get pretty exhausting. And APs just give that to all of you on a silver platter, ready to play. Seriously, as long as you don't get too attached to running things exactly by the book, it's way easier to prep for a session if you're running an AP compared to improving things, at least in my personal experience. I, of course, like improving whenever I'm GMing, but having a script to go by of thinking, okay, here's how much gold you get, really simplifies things and make sure that you aren't breaking the system by giving people way too little or way too much gold. Also, I feel like I should mention that the encounters in APs are actually balanced pretty well, unlike some other encounters in other pre-written campaigns for some other TTRPGs. Now, I'd like to close with some advice for players who are worried about getting railroaded. First off, if you just want to play in a complete sandbox, then APs might not be for your group, and that's perfectly fine. But if you talk with your GM and plan out your character appropriately, there isn't actually very much railroading in APs. Just as an example, if you work together with the GM to add the right kinds of motivation and history to your character, it will be perfectly in character for your PC to just follow the expected plot of the adventure path. Railroading becomes more of a problem if you try and fit a PC into a campaign where they don't really belong. Obviously, like slamming a square block into a circle hole isn't gonna work very well. Thanks for watching. I hope that you give APs a shot now if you haven't played them before. Also, this video isn't actually sponsored by Paizo, no matter how much I'm complimenting them. I just really like their APs and I feel like talking about them. Although, if you're interested, Paizo. Jokes aside, what APs have you guys actually played, or would you recommend to people who are new to Adventure Paths? I'd love to hear it down below, because I haven't played every AP. I don't know which ones are good for new players. Regardless, until I see you next, live a wonderful life.